Hello and welcome to today's video. My name's Haley and welcome to my Gene Keys series. Today we're getting into the third Gene Key. It's called Through the Eyes of a Child. I really like that title. And this video is going to be about the shadow state of chaos. We'll see if I can fit it into one video. But the whole Gene Key, just so we know: shadow of chaos, the gift state is innovation, and the city state is innocence. Getting into the shadow of chaos. Now this already reminds me of the first Gene Key, shadow of entropy, disorder, chaos. So similar but different, and let's dive in to see how it differentiates from the first Gene Key, shadow of entropy. Richard Rudd opens up this section talking about how the core of all of our beliefs are false. Everything we currently base our reality on is false programming. And this main false program that's running is that the human individual is basically powerless in comparison to the nature or the infinite. There's nothing I can do to change everything, is what this says, which is false. However, our entire society runs off this belief system. This is the programming domain of both religion and science, which are the two cornerstones of human belief systems. You know, most people, you walk around, you ask them what they believe. Oh, I'm atheist. Oh, Big Bang. Oh, it's in this book of science. Or, oh, no, actually, I believe in this god, or that this set of gods, these goddesses, this mythology. So science and religion, cornerstones of human belief, are both running this false program that I, as an individual, can't really do a lot about the rest of it all. You know, there's me and a god. There's me and gods or goddesses. There's me at the mercy of nature and evolution and genes and what my makeup has. I can only do so much. So he opens up this chapter with really drilling home that this false belief system pervades all of society. And it's kind of setting us up for one, right? This is creating division in our entire unconscious reality. It's creating separation. It's me and it. Whether the it is a god, goddesses, nature, the rest of humanity. There's a disconnect. He says here, this situation in turn creates the notion of free will and its judgment by the presiding deity. The notion of free will and its presiding deity. So what does he mean by that? Well, if there's a me and there's a God, and there's this gap between us of separation, of duality, oh, I have the free will to choose if I want to obey or disobey. And then God will judge me. This was right, this was wrong. And so it's painting God in this light of judgment and tisk. Which is really, these are not hallmarks of love. These are not hallmarks of consciousness. These are not hallmarks of God. But this chasm creates the illusion that there is a judgmental, condemning God out there. And then on the scientific side, this chasm, this separation creates the illusion that I'm at mercy of whatever the environment's doing or whatever the people around me are doing or whatever my genes just are. There's some form of I can't be helped, whether that's coming through condemnation of something higher or being at the mercy of nature. Because science has it predetermined by our genes, right? Oh, my genetic makeup puts me in a position to only succeed so much or only be able to do so much. It creates limits, obstructions. And again, all of this is false, and it is what our society runs on. And he hasn't said it yet, but that means all of the opposite is true, right? Oh, there's actually no gap. We're actually all connected. Our genes are actually not predetermined. It's not me and God. I am God, which is a very big rabbit hole that we're not going to get into right now. There's no separation, though, in reality, right? And he hasn't gotten into that yet because this is just the shadow state. But he's just setting a very clear, concise foundation for what the program we're currently running on looks like. And I'm just going to read this line because I like how it sounds. We are either shown divinity only to be denied it, or we are shown freedom and then placed in a world of merciless competition in which only the lucky or the strong can thrive. That reminds me of, what's that guy's name? Darwin. Survival of the fittest? I think it's Darwin. In which only the lucky or the strong can survive. Oh, if you got the genes to make it, you can make it, but if you don't, too bad for you. This is what society's still going off of. And how old is that guy? How old is that thought system? Yet here we are still believing it's 100% true. So he notes here how a single cell is the prime unit of life on our planet, which he kind of talks about cells within the rest of this shadow state. So in case you didn't know, the single cell is the prime unit of life on our planet. He says, we're at a great evolutionary fork right now. As a planetary consciousness, we now stand before a chasm. And humanity's response, humanity means all of us, everything, how we respond to this threshold must either lead to chaos or it must lead to cosmos. Wow, I love that. It's either chaos or cosmos. It's so beautifully written, that sentence. So it must either lead to disorder or it must lead to cosmos. Never before in the history has the future of our entire planet and all of its organisms, once again, you, me, Richard Rudd, all the animals, the neighbors, the people over there, the people fighting each other, all of us, our entire planet and all of its organisms hung in the balance of human behavior. He's saying it's dependent upon how we all act, how we all behave, that will either drive us to chaos or to cosmos. And I think cosmos is a fancy way of saying order. Something exponential, something beautiful, something cosmic. Never before seen, cutting edge, evolutionary in the right direction. In the loving direction, I should say. It's based on our human behavior. It's not predetermined. We have the choice now on how we'd like to behave. We're in the car. We get to decide, are we going to turn toward chaos or towards cosmos? It's a choice. We're not merciless. Genes aren't fully predetermined. We're not stuck in a hole. God's not condemning us. It's a choice, but we have to become aware that it's a choice, right? And so then I thought, okay, so it's based on the collective's human behavior. What drives human behavior? Ah, this thing right here. The 5% of my prefrontal cortex. 5% of my brain, called the prefrontal cortex, I should say. Our thoughts drive our actions, drive our behavior, drive the way each one of us navigates and shows up in the world. So it's really as simple as, if we want to go towards cosmos or towards chaos, it all kind of boils down to, it depends how we think. Do we think there's a possibility to go towards the cosmos? Or do we think we're doomed for chaos? Because if we think we're doomed for chaos, we are. It's that simple. It's kind of interesting. I'm trying not to say that word. It's kind of actually relieving that it's so simple, but also alarming in the sense that we better make the right choice. We better think the right thoughts, so that those thoughts can drive our behaviors and drive our actions towards love, towards cosmos. And then here he goes into the etymology of the word chaos. The original meaning of the word chaos is closer to primordial space. I looked up primordial just to make sure I really got a scope on what this means. And primordial means existing at or from the beginning of time. The word chaos is closer to the beginning of time and space. Huh, okay. It was only due to a misunderstanding, he says, that based on fear, that the word came to be equated with disorder. It's a fun little fact. I didn't know that. And, maybe if I have some time later, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole as to how that happened, because that's very interesting to me. How does something go from meaning primordial space to disorder? He just kind of put that in there, a little sprinkle of fun fact. So then he goes into talking about how modern science is basically running upon two giants, which are Newton and Darwin. Newton in physics and Darwin in biology. These guys, these little cheeseheads who have not been here for quite a long time, are still running the paradigm of the scientific model that we run on. And Einstein, even though Einstein's breakthrough was completely revolutionary, he opened physics and all of science to a vast dimension that can only barely be comprehended. Sorry, I lost my train of thought right there. That was weird. But yes, Newton and Darwin are running the show. Einstein has been kind of left behind because it can't be comprehended. That's what I was going to say. Because what Einstein discovered is so new, is so novel, is so cutting edge, is so scary because it can't be understood, that modern science has chose to, for the most part, ignore it. Einstein's quantum world has still not filtered through mainstream biology, except for a few brave pioneers who are willing to put their reputations on the line. Embedded within that sentence is the very issue. There's so much pride in the human condition, right? There's so much pride in science. Oh, well, I don't want to go and investigate what Einstein's all about because what if I can't figure it out? I'd rather be right than try to understand what's new and novel. Because what if I can't understand it and then I fail? It's this fear of failure. It's this want to always be right, to always gain, to always receive admiration from whoever you're going to release this research to. Which is sad, because failing is a part of life. Cheesy as it sounds, it is true, as are most cheesy things. The cheese is always true. A new quantum biology is indeed the process of forming at the frontiers of modern science, and it holds many fascinating possibilities. So, as we start to collect new quantum biologists that are brave enough, that have less ego, less pride, more curiosity, more wonder, more awe, more love, we're going to start to explore what Einstein started, and many fascinating possibilities will come into fruition, because that's how possibilities are discovered, through going into the unknown, through facing the fear, through getting out of what's comfortable. And at the core of this new biology lies a completely new understanding of the single cell. So back to a few minutes ago, remember, Richard Rudd reminded us that a single cell is the prime unit of life on our planet. And up until now, we think through Newton and Darwin, we understand the single cell. But this new introduction of quantum biology reworks the way we see a single cell. I'll read this little part here. According to the mainstream view, the brain of a cell resides within the nucleus, where the genetic instructions for life, or DNA, also reside. And I do remember this. I remember learning this in school, the the nucleus. I remember making a cake of a cell, and the nucleus was the powerhouse. The thinking goes that if the brain is in the nucleus and the nucleus contains the instructions, then the instructions control the cell and therefore us. So all the instructions are trapped inside of the nucleus, which is inside the cell. The instructions are inside the cell. That's this old model, is what he's saying. But in quantum biology, which is this new and upcoming and exciting and novel form of biology, where we're rewriting the way we understand the single cell, it says, something very remarkable has been discovered that directly challenges this idea that the brain is in the nucleus, which is in the center of the cell. This brain of the cell does not reside in the nucleus after all, but in the cellular membrane, which provides an interface with the environment, because the membrane is on the outside. It's touching the inside of the cell and the outside, the environment and the internal. In here and out here. It's connecting. It's not separate anymore, according to this new quantum biology model. So what does all of this mean? This means life is designed to be cooperative, unified, connected, rather than separate, rather than dualistic, rather than competitive. It's pretty major shift in thinking. Because going back to religion and science, this directly correlates to that chasm, me and God. I'm at the mercy of my genes. There's no more chasm. Now there's cooperation. All of life is interrelated and holistic rather than separate. In this old view, we're victims. We're selfish. We're disconnected. And in our new view, there's no victims because there's no separation. We're all connected. We're all one. We're all interdependent on each other. There's no more fragmentation. There's just one holistic unit. It's 2020 as I said that. So yes, this is a lot. He gets very kind of sciencey in this one. It's a little more science here for you guys. He says, modern scientific chaos theory is founded upon tiny variations in the initial conditions within a system. I don't study this stuff. What, Richard Rudd? He clarifies. In terms of the evolution of life, however, the single cell's prime directive is indeed to survive at all costs, which is what forms the consciousness of this third shadow. So from all of that, all you really need to take away is that the single cell, its prime directive, its main motive, is to survive. The cell wants to survive. That's all you really need to know from all of this. And this is what forms the third shadow. Every cell has to learn to fend for itself. Survival of the fittest, back to Darwinism, back to this old paradigm of thinking, back to this competition, this fear-based, I have to survive, I have to make it. And this is what modern scientific chaos theory is based upon. This survival of the fittest, this fear-based consciousness. But remember, chaos is really only a perspective that conceals a hidden pattern that inevitably leads to order. Going back to that first gene key, entropy. Remember what entropy does? Entropy, disorder, chaos, lay the soil, lay the groundwork for love and joy to sprout. It's a back and a forth, a give and a take. You need the disorder, you need the entropy, you need the chaos in order to be graduated to new levels of love, awareness, and presence. So, chaos is just a perspective that conceals a hidden pattern that inevitably leads to order. If we shift how we see chaos, all of a sudden, there goes the fear-based consciousness. We don't need to be afraid of whether we survive or not. Because we have the intelligence now of, oh, if for whatever reason this does lead to disorder or decay, it's because I'm being reworked so I can regrow into something even greater. If life were truly that selfish, if this fear-based programming was actually the truth, then we really wouldn't have made it this far. And it's not the truth, right? All of this is illusory. Last little bit here. The same law that governs single cells also governs individual human beings, which means that earlier in our evolution, we were programmed to survive. We've been programmed to survive. We've been born into fear. We've been living a lie. Because all of our modern beliefs and ideologies are based upon this survival of the fittest, right? Even think about just some very simple examples. If there's a job you want, it's you and all the people interviewing for it. Because this is what's been primed in our brain. Well, there's only one position, and if I don't get it, they're gonna get it, which means it's me against them. When really, if we were to be able to get into that higher state of frequency of intelligence, we'd open our eyes and realize it's not me against them. There's one position and only one of us is correctly fit for it. And if it's not me, that's because I'm fit for something else. If it leads to chaos for me, if it leads to disorder for me, if it doesn't work out for me, if I don't get the position, it's because there's a higher order for me somewhere else. Everyone has a place. This is what the new paradigm says. This is what the quantum biology model says. This is what the new framework for a cell is, right? The nucleus, the powerhouse, the DNA. It's not all stored inside and hidden. It's in the cellular membrane. The information is connecting all of us. It wants what's best for all of us. There's a place for all of us. That, not to mention, is more perfect if in the scenario you don't get the job. The job that's waiting for you is more perfect than this job. So yes, we are still based on this divisive worldview. There's no fundamental belief that there's an organizing force in the universe. We've forgotten that. We think things are coincidences. Things are not coincidences. Coincidence, two incidents happening at one, divinely oriented. And I like what he says here. This is the last thing I'll leave you guys with. Our religious thinking is locked into this same single cell consciousness. Isn't that a way to say that? Single cell consciousness. The single cell consciousness, once again, being the nucleus is hidden within the center of the cell, not in the membrane. The single cell consciousness, I just love how he says that, has divided us. It's us and God. It's me and nature. It's judgment, it's condemnation, it's mercy. It's please help me, survival of the fittest, weak versus strong. And it's not reality. So I'm gonna leave us off there. We're not done with this shadow. We still have the repressive nature and the reactive nature to go over. So tune back in tomorrow to see what that's all about. And yeah, love and aloha. Drop a comment, let me know if you had any downloads, thoughts about this. This was very much more sciencey than the other gene keys thus far. So yeah, love to hear your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in with me for this Gene Keys episode. I also just wanted to come on here and start promoting my one-to-one coaching that I offer to women and girls ages 16 to 35. If you followed me on Instagram for a while, you might be a little bit familiar with my story. I was a model in New York City for 5 years, and in that time frame, I did quite some damage. I developed a really severe eating disorder, body dysmorphia, chronic anxiety. Oh my gosh, I couldn't even go out to dinner without thinking about how much calories, how much I'd have to overwork out in order to compensate for what I was eating. All of those issues led to quite a depression and turned into PCOS, and I also lost my menstrual cycle for over 5 years. All of this amalgamation of issues led me to soon realize that something needed to change. I went through much work. Many people helped me to get to where I am now, and I'm so thrilled to say I'm living such a more abundant life, and I don't feel zapped and drained and fear of judgment anymore like I used to. I would love to offer what I've learned through my own embodied experience, meditative techniques that have gravitated toward me, and the own verified games that I've made up and curated to help you walk home to more of you and who you really are, so that all of these things can stop draining your energy. You know, all the constant comparison to others and to people on Instagram, all the over-analysis about working out and what you're eating or what you look like. All of these things are not what life's about, as cheesy as it sounds. And I would love to help you come into more unity with you if you struggle with any of these things and you're a woman or girl between the ages of 16 and 35. So feel free to reach out to me if one-on-one coaching sounds resonant. You can feel free to DM me through Instagram or contact me via email, both of which will be left below in the description box. So much love and aloha to you guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.